Right now, the biggest issue is that like nobody knows this is going on.
Immigration attorneys are calling it unprecedented.
Some migrants are showing up to their scheduled court hearings only to be arrested by waiting ICE agents.
White House official Stephen Miller said he expects ICE to up its numbers to upwards of 3,000 arrests a day.
Unless you have media covering this and telling the story, this will just continue to happen, and we will end up with 21 million people being deported. We've been covering over the last week and a half of a new ICE tactic where ICE is, instead of getting warrants, arresting migrants at their workplaces or at their homes. Like, people have learned their rights, and that's become harder for ICE.
They call it know your rights. I call it how to escape arrest.
So their new tactic is to call migrants in for a immigration court hearing, and then the prosecution asks the judge to drop the case. So the government is asking the judge to drop the case. Judges typically will drop the case because that is typically a good thing if you're in a criminal proceeding and the prosecution asks to drop the case, usually that's a good thing. But in this case, it's not a good thing because the migrants leave with their cases dropped. And now that their cases are dropped, ICE can arrest them and expedite their removal proceedings. That's the new strategy. And they've been using that strategy nationwide. Not really anybody's talking about it, except for immigrants' rights orgs on the ground. It's really, really important to focus on because, like I said, it's happening nationwide. It's happening everywhere. San Antonio, Sandeiago, Kansas City, Chicago, LA, New York, Boston, like everywhere. This is their new strategy. They're making arrests at immigration court proceedings.
But they are saying that this is in many ways a catch-22 situation because if you attend a court hearing now, there is a possibility you could be arrested. And if you don't attend a court hearing, you could be ordered deported.
Like they're boxed in here. What about ICE?
Yep. These are people who are going through the legal process to come here, and they're being called into immigration court. And if they show up, they get arrested and detained by ICE. If they don't show up, ICE will come and find them. And like the sad thing is, like, no lawyer will tell you not to attend a court hearing that you're called to. And I want to be clear, like, these are people, they are going to immigration court. These are not illegal aliens. These are people who are going through the legal process to be here legally. A lot of them are asylum seekers. This is a legal process. Every time you hear MAGA folk talk about, oh, well, you should have done it the right way. These are people doing it the right way. They're showing up to their immigration court proceedings, and they're being punished for doing so. The reason that they are adopting this backhanded, cowardly tactic is because they tried to do it the traditional way by going to people's houses, stalking them for weeks, and then going to their houses in force, like Rosemary Ozturk, like stuff like that, where you try to catch them on the sidewalk, stuff like that. And they failed. They tried and they failed because people understood their rights. They didn't open the door. They didn't let them in without a warrant. And they thwarted a lot of the early attempts by ICE to start this mass deportation campaign. And so this is their response to that. And we need to have a response to this. The way that we've been fighting it legally in Kansas City is we've been asking the judge to provide the dismissal in writing, which technically like extends the court case. And if they're still in the court case, they can't be deported. And so they ask for the dismissal to be in writing, which will then give them 10 days after they get the letter to respond, to have their lawyer look at it and respond. I don't think the laws seem to matter anymore. In some cases they do, and in some cases they don't. I also agree that we're using outdated tools. I think if somebody's allowed to walk free because they asked to have the dismissal in writing, and they get 10 more days free and 10 more days to build community and find ways to keep themselves safe, I think that's a W. It's also important to understand that immigration courts are not under the judicial system. They're under the executive branch. And as such, the immigrants are not entitled to an attorney. I want to repeat that. As we have had all of this discussion about people being denied due process, immigration courts are under the executive branch, not the judicial branch. And as such, people who are going through immigration court are not afforded an attorney. You do not get the right to have an attorney. And we can look at, so here's one way they stopped it. This is in New York. Anti-ICE protesters are gathered in New York City outside of Federal Plaza ICE headquarters following multiple ICE arrests yesterday of migrants whose cases were dismissed during check-in inside. Okay, so here's the protest outside of Federal Plaza.
Our so-called leaders would rather support a genocide than oppose it.
And this is shortly afterwards. This is ICE arrests and clashes with NYPD and Homeland Security agents. This was on the 28th. Outside of ICE building in Manhattan, after protesters blocked vehicles with immigration detainees from leaving Federal Plaza ICE building. Dude, what is this Kenny face mask. He zipped up his jacket and just put it over his nose. What is that?
Get back. Get back.
Let me get on the fucking.
I also want to point out that them covering their faces shows that they are scared. It shows that they are shameful. They are scared of us. If there were to be a national database that gets started, this would really bother them. Okay? I'm not saying nothing. I'm just saying they're very scared of that. They're very scared of their actions over the next 4 years, chasing them after those 4 years. They're scared because they know that this won't last. There will be a day when fascism in America dies. They know it. And if they didn't, they wouldn't cover their face. What are they scared of? They know they're going to lose, and they know that one day everybody will have been against this.
Families together! Keep families together!
The actual uniformed police, I can almost theoretically maybe have some kind of sympathy for them, maybe. Why? They're facilitating this. They're literally working alongside them.
No charges will be placed against you.
They're all the same. NYPD, KKK, ICE, they're all the same.
If you remain in the roadway and refuse to utilize the sidewalk, you will be placed under arrest and charged with disorderly.
Just asking because in some cities, ICE is not allowed to work with the police, so it would trigger a massive citywide lawsuit, and state police are not allowed to either. Legal precedent. This is misleading, actually. I'm pretty sure New York is a sanctuary city. And so all sanctuary cities mean is the city won't report people who are detained by the city to ICE. If ICE calls them, they still collaborate with them. You have to understand that. Because ICE technically has no jurisdiction over citizens. And so they could not do anything for this kind of action. They require the NYPD to do something for this. Fox News bragging about the largest migrant criminal operation ever. So this is like the only national news that I've seen of ICE's escalation of the last week. We've been covering it. I've been showing you a lot of local news reports from all across the country of different tactics being used by ICE to pick up people, and the escalation of the mass deportation campaign is in full swing now.
Operation Patriot ran during the month of May and resulted in the arrest of more than 1,400 illegal migrants throughout the state of Massachusetts.
When people get arrested for these heinous crimes out there, they have such low bail. They just release them, and then they don't comply with ICE detainers. So that's what leads to what you're seeing right here.
It's also like we are so fucked with our conversation around immigration in this country. Not only are we never talking about the human experience of what it would be like to sell everything you own or leave it behind and trek through the fucking desert of Mexico to reach America and how treacherous that is. You know, what would motivate somebody to do such a drastic thing? We never talk about making a big move like that to improve the life of you and your children. It's a hyper-American thing to do, man. The idea that you would do something like that, you would fight and invest in a better future, that's like the American dream. But we don't talk about that. Not even the Democrats talk about that. You know what else we never talk about? Why the fuck these people are leaving to begin with? Okay? We don't talk about the drug war. We don't talk about America's addiction problem. We don't talk about all these things that facilitate the cartels, facilitate the drug trade that is making all these people leave their countries. We don't talk about the overthrowing of leftist movements in all these countries, specifically El Salvador, Honduras. We don't ever talk about the American role in making these countries so unstable and hard to live in for the people who probably would rather be there and safe than trek so far and to come into America. It's just fucking gross, man. You want to stop people from immigrating? Stop making Central America such a horrible place to live. And also, a lot of the immigrants coming into the United States under Biden weren't even just from Central America. They were from all over the world. And they're escaping places that American companies, if not the American government themselves, explicitly went into and made people's lives worse. But we can't talk about that. Nobody can talk about that. I really, 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 really hope that you understand the severity of this moment. This is going to be a story we're going to be covering for a few weeks, for months, probably maybe years. I hope we got through to you today of this new tactic they're using and what you can do to support your undocumented neighbors, because that's what we really need it right now. Really, really, really bad. This is the front line. Find your immigration court. Find an org that you can follow, get advice from, and build power and figure out ways to fight against it.